Want to help the channel? Go to shopclownfish.com where you can check out official Clownfish TV merchandise in our brand new shop. It helps us out. Also, check us out on Facebook, facebook.com/clownfishtv for more art and gaming live streams that we don't do on YouTube. We want to see you over there as well. Now let's get into the video. Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Kneon. I'm here with Geeky Sparkles.
Hello.
And we're going to do take 2 of this video.
Yeah, we had a take yesterday, but it was very...
hot.
Yeah.
It was a very hot take.
It was too hot for YouTube.
We actually had done a video talking about the situation between Tom King and Jae Lee yesterday, and we also segued into what was going on with Dynamite and Alterna and some other things in the comic book industry, and it was pretty spicy. I mean, we let it fly, but then we decided, you know what, let's not post this one. People they were like, oh man, it's like, no, it was spicy. So we're gonna cover some of the same talking points. We're gonna be a little more profesh, I think, in our assessment of the situation.
We'll be a little more professional.
Profesh.
I hate that.
It's like delish.
Oh, I hate that word.
It's my Rachel Ray. Anyway, just to hammer this home, Twitter is not the real world, but people who live on Twitter constantly prowl around on Twitter and their lives revolve around Twitter drama, seem to think that everybody is on Twitter 24/7 and they give a shit about Twitter drama.
And they agree with them. Because if they don't agree, that automatically makes them bad.
So we're going to talk about Tom King, Batman writer, sad Batman writer. He's always sad. Sad Batman writer, former CIA agent, Tom King, who should have known a hell of a lot better. And so what he did was he was very salty about Comicsgate. Jae Lee, a very well-respected comic book artist, very, very big in the 90s and early 2000s, did a cover for Ethan Van Sciver's Cyberfrog. I'm sure he got paid very, very well for that. And that's all it was. It was a business transaction. He did a cover. Well, Tom King did not like that Jae Lee worked with Comicsgate. Somebody who identifies as Comicsgate, and he basically said that he's renouncing that cover. DC put out an alternate cover to Rorschach by Jae Lee, who has also done covers for Comicsgate, a hate group. DC does not consult creators on alternative covers. I reached out to them to express my deep disappointment.
So basically, I reached out to them to say, you should fire this guy. You reached out to them to bring light to it, to question it, to make sure there was backlash for this person because you didn't like it.
So instead of going quietly to DC and saying, hey, I have concerns, did you know Jae Lee is working with Comicsgate? Now, here's the thing. Tom King assumes everybody knows what the hell is going on Twitter, and he knows all about the Twitter drama. One, Tom King had no business, being such a well-known professional.
He shouldn't be gatekeeping.
He shouldn't be gatekeeping. He basically was like, he publicly tied Jae Lee to, as far as I'm concerned, an imaginary hate group.
Right, because Comicsgate is not recognized as a hate group. And they keep spinning this narrative that it's made up of those people that are all, white supremacists and men. They hate people that are minorities. When there is, in fact, a lot of minority people in the Comicsgate that say they identify as Comicsgate. And again, it's not actually an official group, nor is it recognized as a hate group officially, any more so than Antifa is.
I don't even know. Well, that's the argument. The argument
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, if you can't say that Antifa is an organization, then you can't say Comicsgate is an organization either. It is people who maybe share similar ideals. Now, I'll tell you the truth, I can't even keep track of who or what Comicsgate is anymore. You've got a group of people that call themselves actual Comicsgate, and then you've got splinter kind of, factions of people, and then you've got people who just think that the comic book industry is in a bad place right now because of politics, which would be where we fall. We don't.
Yeah, we're not actually Comicsgate.
No, we don't call ourselves Comicsgate. We get
lumped in with it all the time, and so do a lot of other people who are not actually Comicsgate people, like this artist,
like Jae Lee. Yeah,
they did a work for hire piece, and now they're being told they're Comicsgate. Well, that doesn't make them Comicsgate. Just because you stand next to somebody at McDonald's who votes differently than you doesn't mean that you vote that way too. This is insane.
Right.
And
so
why does it matter how you vote anyway?
So he basically, Tom King went to DC Comics to get Jae Lee's cover canceled. To get Jae Lee canceled.
Make sure he knew what problematic person he was.
And he tried to publicly shame Jae Lee and get him canceled. And we've seen this tactic used again and again and again by comic book pros and people in this Whisper network, where they basically they're going to force you to pick a side even if you don't want anything to do with this fight. They want you to pick a side publicly, and they will put the pressure on you, put the pressure on your career until you decide, that they're in the right and everyone else is in the wrong. This exact same tactic was used by Mark Waid. I'm going to go, I've got concerns.
Control by bullying, control by threat tactics, it's control. It's very reminiscent of another organization.
Brown shirts.
That were all about control and telling on your friends and making sure you didn't have the wrong think.
Yep.
That happened a few decades ago.
Now, this blew up because a lot of people were like, Tom King, you don't have any right. Well, Tom King, obviously Ethan Van Sciver, was like, this is ridiculous. What the hell? Why are you doing this? And what happened was he said he spoke to Jae Lee. I spoke to him. He's not on Twitter. Didn't know Comicsgate even existed. Oh, bless his soul. He should be grateful.
We didn't either, and that's why we ended up on here, because we just said, "Hey, wait, Marvel numbers are bad. What the heck's going on? There's something we need to be concerned about." And by saying that, apparently it made us Comicsgate, even though we didn't even know what Comicsgate was. And a bunch of our friends, some of them who knew us personally, suddenly unfollowed us and said they weren't allowed to talk to us anymore. And we're like, "What the hell is going on?"
It's like, you gutless cowards. I'm seeing this on right now with Alterna. There are people jumping ship on Alterna, which...
after they get their whole book deal done.
Yeah, after they get there are people, and they always have to make a big show about it. It's like, you fucking cowards. You cowards. You couldn't even have just a back channel conversation. You're putting on a show because you want people like Tom King to like you and maybe give you some work.
You're looking for a cookie, but there are going to be no cookies for you.
There's not going to be any cookies. The comic book industry has burnt all the cookies at this point. The only people who are going to have cookies after this is all said and done are people who went and built their own thing.
They built their own bakery and made their own damn cookies. And guess what? You made them mad, so they're not going to give you cookies either.
So Tom King, I spoke with Jay. He's not on Twitter, so I'm going to speak for him. Didn't know Comicsgate existed. Doesn't support hate of any kind. That's most people.
No, we don't either.
We're all good. Best possible outcome. Except, it's not true. It's a lie. It's impossible. It's impossible. It's Bleeding Cool. This is not coming from what they would consider to be a Comicsgate website, even though it says CGC up in the corner. This is coming from Bleeding Full. Jae Lee, we're not good. It turns out that Jae Lee was grieving the loss of his poor puppy.
Which we're sorry for your loss, by the way.
I'm very sorry, Jae Lee.
Because we know what that's like, and it's terrible.
And he's not involved in the Twitter drama. He took work from Ethan Van Sciver, who's been working in comics for damn near 30 years. They probably knew each other going way back. And it was just a business transaction. He was just
doing his thing. He was, you're going to hire me to do the cover? Sounds cool.
Yeah.
I've known you for a while or whatever, okay. You know what? It wasn't like, it had nothing to do with the gate.
The gate, yeah.
And the alleged, hate group that isn't actually a hate group.
Which literally like 12 or 15 people care about. They're in a Whisper network, and they're basically trying to cancel anyone who defies them.
Mostly they're just pissed because a lot of these people actually called them out for being full of crap. Yep. And it's a personal vendetta at this point. Well, I think for a lot of people, I think.
I mean, we'll talk a little bit about this after what we talked about with how Jae Lee responded, and he was very angry. But I do think that this goes back to that Whisper Network thing, that people are ramping this up now to try to purge anybody who even remotely
I think it's networks plural. I think there's several. Yeah. I would say it's networks. We think it's that. So
here we go. This is Jae Lee's official response, even though Tom King said everything was fine. It's all fine here. He's not on Twitter, so take my word for it. 2 weeks ago, June and I took Loki, his dog, to San Diego to see a specialist. He did not survive due to complications from the surgery.
I feel so bad.
Very sorry. We're going to have to hug Charles after this video. This past Friday was supposed to be a day of mourning. We were back in San Diego to pick up his ashes. We were going to take him to the beach and comfort each other by sharing our favorite stories about our little boy. Instead, a part of the internet I avoid like the plague came barging in. That would be Twitter. I had companies I'm working for calling me because Tom King went to DC. And God knows where else because he made a big public spectacle of it. I had friends reaching out to me. I'm seeing hate pouring out of strangers' mouths, accusing me of things I have no knowledge of. I'm seeing firsthand how fast lies are spreading. Let me be clear. I'm not part of any group.
Doesn't matter. We're not either, but you get lumped in just because you know somebody or you talk to somebody or whatever. Doesn't matter if you actually identify as that or not.
We never made it to the beach. We spent the entire 6-hour drive back home on an emotional roller coaster.
Sure. We've been there. Well, what's happened? Something like this happened. That's not involving our pet, but Kneon was away. He actually left and he had to go for work. He had to go on a cruise.
I had to go on a cruise for work. Honest.
And I was home with the kids, and that's when the whole thing came down with Anime News Network. Flat out, publicly, the one editor was calling us alt-right Yahtzees.
Oh, yeah.
And all that. And then there was a bunch of stuff, backlash. People were asking what's going on and everything else. And all that was going on while Kneon was hours away from me. And it's like, it was already bad enough because he was going to be gone for several days over Valentine's Day. And it really sucked. And I didn't want, I was miserable already. And then we had to deal with a whole bunch of people writing us. And
Twitter
like,
bullshit.
Did you see this? And it's like, we had said nothing. Only thing we see, you know what our crime was? We said, I don't want to just condemn somebody. It appears some of the evidence they had posted turned out to be untrue. People
about Vic Mignogna.
People were recanting it and saying that wasn't. They took it out of context, and we should let the courts decide. That's all we said. Imagine
that. Saying that people need to be proven guilty. You should let the courts do their jobs. Imagine that. That is enough in this day and age to have these journalists call you an alt-right Yahtzee.
And we were dealing with all, it's not the same thing by any means, but we kind of understand where he's coming from. Something you're already dealing with a lot of crap, and and you have enough stuff going on, and then this happens, and you're just like, where did this come from?
So this is Twitter cancel culture backfiring. So they were going to remember their poor puppy. It was a very, very hard day, and here comes comic book Twitter and its fucking bullshit cancel culture bullshit fucky fuck.
Well, that's the official terminology.
That is,
Tell my mom you're sorry.
I'm sorry, Mom. Not my mom. My mom would say worse. But anyway, we spent the entire 6-hour drive on an emotional roller coaster. We've been there. I'm writing this because I'm angry. These irresponsible tweets are not harmless.
They're not.
They do not just go away. They have real world consequences.
Yep.
They can take away your job, your life, your memories. June and I were robbed of a special day, so no, we're not all good. This isn't the start of a conversation, this is the end. So please don't drag me into a world I never wanted to be a part of, nor will I ever want to be a part of. I want to honor Loki by going back to producing art made with love for people who enjoy it for what it is, something that hopefully brings joy into their lives. Mommy and Daddy miss you very much, Loki. Our love. And Tom King, you fucked it up.
Well, yeah, we're not going on about this too much either because he wants it to be resolved, and we don't want to keep it going. But it's just this whole idea that you can just say whatever you want to say and there's no consequences isn't true.
Right.
And you have to, you can't just, accuse people. You can't just like go out and say this and that and that it's all white supremacy or talk like in absolutes about stuff because that's not fair, nor is it accurate. And you have to be careful because now you can get sued.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that. That's where the salt came from. Yesterday's video, we talked at length about legal recourse that some of the people who are smeared by Twitter might actually have, or smeared by the comics media, the very careless comics media might actually have. And you guys are going to be like, oh my God, we have to hear this. I'm like, no. We're trying to be good. But here's the thing. I mean, we've seen this before. I saw it with, Peter Simeti. All he wanted to do was be neutral. He wanted to be neutral. He wanted to be left alone.
Like we always lean in the middle. Like we lean left, but we're moderates. And that's bad because now they actually have politicians out there saying, people out there saying, if you don't agree with one side or the other, you're the problem. You're not allowed to be neutral. You're not allowed to try to put customers first. That is bad. That makes you a bad person. You're supposed to agree, completely 100% with everything we say, even if it's bullshit. Yeah. Because if you don't, well, it'll just be a real shame if people don't carry your books, or it'd be a real shame if everybody like badmouthed you all over the internet, wouldn't it?
Yeah, and that's what's going on here is threats of blacklisting, but it actually happens because I want to talk again about Dynamite, and Dynamite again, they buckled almost immediately. But there were also thinly veiled threats about people going after their licenses. Now, here's the thing. Dynamite Entertainment now, because of the media and their poorly written articles that basically state that Comicsgate is an actual hate movement, it's an actual organization, an actual hate movement, and Dynamite supports that. Multiple websites, comicbook.com, Comic Book Resources, even this James Bond site.
But what I find funny, ironic funny, is the fact that the cover in question was done by Cecil.
Yes.
And they keep going on about how it's a white supremacist group who go after people who are minorities, LGBTQ, etc. And the one they're mad about was the cover by Cecil.
Yes, I know.
I
know. It's because it's, again, this isn't, I don't even.
Also, Peter Sammetti's not white.
Neither is Jae Lee.
Yes, and they called them white supremacists. So, it can't.
Here's the thing, because this is going to potentially cost Jae Lee work, because Comics Twitter got angry. So Jae Lee may never be able to find work in the mainstream again, because Tom King said he supported a hate movement.
Well, it feels like that was the intent. I mean,
yes.
I can't say that's the intent because I don't know, but from somebody outside looking in, it appears to be what his intent was.
That appears to be the intent of a lot of these people in the Whisper Network. That appears to be the intent of people who smear other people on Twitter, is to flag them as being problematic
and bully you into agreeing with their side, so they can say, "Oh, it's okay, they agree with us.
We saw
it's all good now." I made sure I learned them. They know where they have to stand.
Yeah, they know where their face belongs.
They're okay. That's right. That's right.
They know their face belongs in my ass. No, that's the thing though, and we saw this with a lot of like elder statespeople in comics, where they were, these people came to them with concerns,
and a lot of times they don't even have the whole story. They
don't have the whole story.
Like
no.
they get told one side from people who are clearly have a bias.
Yeah, and
then they like lash out at everyone. Like, I'm hearing that you're just keeping the, but that's not what happened. But that's what they're told, because they aren't invested in it. They don't follow it. Most people don't even know about it.
Jae Lee didn't know about it. He's just like, Ethan Van Sciver came to me with some money, wanted me to do a cover. We worked together in the 90s, probably. I did a cover for him.
What's the big deal?
What's the big deal? And why are you calling for my head? Because I did a frog comic cover.
Because not everyone is familiar with the Twitter bullshit drama. Like I said, we didn't even know what it was until we got, suddenly everybody's not talking to us, and we're on lists. We're like, what the hell happened?
Yes, there are, there are lists. There are lists. There are spreadsheets of people and where they stand on this stupid Comicsgate thing, that they're circulating them. And if you're on the list, you're probably not going to get work from most publishers. Now, I don't give a shit. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, we walked away from mainstream comics. Doesn't pay. I don't want to deal with bullshit like this, so I don't give a shit. But there are people who their livelihoods are snapped away.
Right,
because of gossip and lies.
You can't just, label everyone, because we got put, okay, for example, there's a list that's going around that's a Gamergate list. Guess who's on it? We are. We weren't even around for Gamergate.
I didn't even know what Gamergate was until like 2 years ago.
Yeah, it's like we weren't even there.
Wasn't even there. Wasn't there. So it doesn't matter though. So in this case, Tom King may have cost Jae Lee jobs. The Twitter, these journalists, I'm gonna use air quotes because I don't consider these people to be real journalists on these websites, constantly saying that Comicsgate is a hate movement, that this is what they stand for, and Dynamite is a part of that. Could it potentially cost Dynamite licenses, customers, distribution? There are going to be financial repercussions. Any other news outlet, they would get sued. They would get sued.
I'm sorry, I'm just reading this sentence down here. It's Comicsgate, the movement that blames the forced inclusion in its members' view of people of color, women, and members of the LGBT plus community as both creators, and it's depicted within comic stories for declining comic sales and perceived declining comics. Because, how dare they? They are clearly hating on people that aren't white, straight, and male. It's like the people telling me I have internalized misogyny because I don't like Ray and Rostico. And then the guy yelling at me about my internalized misogyny, which I kept pointing out that he was the one being a misogynist, then turned around and called me foul female-related words in Spanish, which would be misogyny. Anyway, it just amuses me more than it should.
So look, and I don't know what's going to happen, but I got to tell you, there's been some precedents set lately when the media constantly lies to, produce a narrative.
Yeah,
and they destroy people's
I would just
lives.
say with produce a narrative, they know it's selective exclusion of certain facts so they're like, well, we were factual. No, you deliberately omitted some facts, like you omitted the fact that, in this case, that the kid was just standing there and they came up to him and all that. You deliberately cut the video and cut the it's because of an election year. They're so busy trying to flip and get Trump out of office that they're opening themselves up to stuff like this. And it was a big mistake. Now, the Washington Post, he said, did hurry up and correct their mistake, so they went a little easier on the Washington Post. Yes.
So there are 8 outlets that are being sued for defamation.
Two down. They said 6 more to go.
Because the story became that this kid was like a white supremacist, and he was getting in this guy's face, and that's not actually what happened. And again, when you call people a supremacist or you call them a hate group or something, you better have some damn good evidence to back that up, because those are defamatory statements. They can cost people jobs because you're saying there's something that they've actually denied. People in Comicsgate have denied for years that it is a hate movement. You'll actually see that there are lots of LGBTQ people of color, women involved in what they call Comicsgate. It's not an organization at all. It's more of
all over the place.
It's all over the place, and they can't even they can't even agree on what the hell it is. You got I can't keep track of who hates who. I'll be honest.
It changes daily.
It's not an organization at all. It's just a bunch of people who are fed up with the mainstream comic book industry, but they're making a lot of money, and it's a huge threat to the mainstream.
So we got to paint that with a broad brush.
So we gotta create a boogeyman. We have to make them a monster so we can expel them from our ranks, because people go get funny ideas about making comics that sell again. We can't have that. That's bad for ideology. It's great for business, but it's bad for ideology.
What they want is they just want to take. They're not saying we want to make it go all to the right either. What they're saying is we just want comics to be about comics, not be about politics all the time. That's all. That's, from my understanding, that's where we're coming from.
Yeah, there are some people in Comicsgate that are hard right, and they want
always. There's always going to be people and groups.
But there are people in the mainstream that are doing hard left comics.
Right.
I would say the majority of people just want to roll the clock back 5 or 10 years to when comics had more broad appeal and they weren't created just for niche audiences like they are now. I would say that's probably the majority. The campaigns that do the best are the ones that have broad appeal without politics. But again, we're seeing some real world examples of how the media, when they try to say that people are supremacists or bigots or part of a hate movement or whatever, they don't have the proof, they can be sued. They can be sued. And
they need to watch their backs on that.
And I think, again, going against a company like Dynamite, I don't think Dynamite's going to do anything. But, you start demonizing enough people, somebody's going to call a lawyer at some point, because you cannot run to the media and keep saying, well, so-and-so is part of a hate group. So-and-so should be, excised from the comic book industry.
Well, when you're calling it a hate group over and over again, when it's not actually registered as even a hate group.
No, it's not even a group. It's not even a group. It's like it's not even a group, let alone a hate group. You don't even know what you're talking about. You're just repeating the same thing, copy-paste, because everybody else is. Well,
they're trying to turn it into one. But if we say it enough times, it makes it true. Like I said yesterday, my mom always says, I went to the Planet Melmac. Doesn't make it true. No matter how many times she says it. It's like that. Doesn't make it true just because you keep repeating it over and over again. But I do want to end it on what he said at the end here, what Jae Lee said at the end, because this is where I feel like, this is where we came from. This idea that, all we wanted to do was make things. Yeah. And, we wanted to see people, be happy with what we made. And that's where we came from, because when we did our own comic, we did webcomics. And it's still really important to me, I think more so than it is to you. But my thing was, I just wanted to make something, and I still do. I just want to tell stories. At the end of the day, that's all I want to do. I want to tell stories and make people laugh and be funny. I don't want to have to go on here every day and be like calling out shit, but I do, because somebody has to. But at the end of the day, I'm in the same place that he is. He's just like, I just want to make stuff with love and for people to enjoy it and bring joy to people. And that's what we want to do too. But we're not allowed to because, we're lumped in with people that just because we disagree with them. We're lumped in with a bunch of people they hate. And no matter what we do, we're wrong. So,
we almost have to, I almost feel like we have to fight just for the luxury of being able to make stuff again without being harassed by
Well, we're going to get harassed
idiots,
no matter what.
But
for me, I just want to go back to it because I just want to make stuff that makes people happy. And people were like, you just want to yell and hate. And it's like, no, actually, we didn't.
We never started this channel with that intention.
For years and years and years, we tried to make things and that's all we wanted to do was tell stories. And it became increasingly obvious that you're not allowed to tell stories unless you're certain types of people. You're not allowed to have that luxury unless you have a certain opinion, and it's a load of shit. So we stand here today to call out crap when it should be called out, and that's what's going on here. But at the end of the day, I 100% agree with the sentiment. I don't want to get embroiled in this shit. I just want to do nice things and spread fun things to people.
And if people are choosing to not be part of a conversation they don't want to be a part of, you should respect their wishes. Peter Samedi should have been left alone. But they didn't do it.
No, because they're just going to tar and feather you and string you up to show that, you make an example of you. This is what happens when you don't do what we want. And that's exactly what's going on. But everybody else is the hate group and the problem.
Yeah, they're the hate group. All right. So we're going to wrap this one up.
Yep.
Okay, so please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, and we'll talk later.
Bye.
Hey guys, thanks for watching Clownfish TV. Please consider supporting the channel. Go to clownfishsupport.com. That's clownfishsupport.com. And if you want to join our community, go to clownfishtalk.com. That's clownfishtalk.com. Please subscribe, ring the bell for notifications. We will talk to you next time.